Welcome to Gift of Life, the Organ Transplant podcast. These are the stories of those who have received, given, and who are waiting for the gift of life, organ transplantation. Now here's your host and heart and kidney recipient, BJ Odom.
Welcome to the Gift of Life, the Organ Transplant Podcast, a captivating exploration into the world of organ transplantation. I'm your host, BJ Odom. Every episode, we delve into inspiring narratives, connect with remarkable individuals who are entwined with the realm of transplants. Be sure to show your support by leaving a 5-star review and subscribing wherever you get your favorite podcast. Also, make sure you check out our Facebook page, Gift of Life, the Organ Transplant Podcast. Today marks a monumental occasion as I have the privilege today to interview my wife, Susan, my caregiver. I did it one other time, the birth of our daughter, and now we're going to do it all over again. As this marks only the second time in our 39 years of marriage that I've had to interview her. Throughout the years, Susan has been my unwavering caregiver, standing by my side through highs and lows from a heart transplant in 2003 and a kidney transplant in 2015. She has been my pillar of strength. We explore the profound significance of when our roles reversed as she bravely battled breast cancer a few years ago. Caregivers are truly the backbone of anyone navigating the journey of organ transplantation. So Susan, let's start out by letting everyone know what it's like being a caregiver.
There's ups and downs of being a caregiver, but it's very rewarding to know that you're helping someone you love and care about.
You're definitely right as far as ups and downs. Now, I remember when I got the call that I was going to get a new heart, you were kind of freaking out. I was excited about it because I knew I was going to feel better, but yet a little bit nervous. So how did you feel when I called you from the hospital saying, come on up with the family because it's time?
A little nerve-wracking because it was in the middle of the night, even though we were prepared to come and pick you up because you stayed in the hospital too long and they were letting you go the next day. So when I get this call in the middle of the night, I was officially packed. Just had to let the rest of the family know that we're heading up to Tampa, and if anybody wanted to join us, that they were more than welcome. That was like at 3 o'clock in the morning. So we packed up our bags. We got there about 5:30, so we could see you. We were all worried we wouldn't see you before they took you into surgery, but that was another story there. We made it in time. We got to talk to you, and all was good, and then we had to go sit in the waiting room and wait.
Now, if I remember right, too, I didn't go in right away. You guys got there like early in the morning because we thought it was going to take place like right away. But it didn't take place till about 10 o'clock that night, right?
That's correct. So we stayed around and prayed and talked with each other, and I guess we got to see you more, too. Thinking that they had a heart, but they found another heart that was almost a perfect match, so they had to go through the process and get ready to do the transplant, which was a couple hours, but we kept waiting and waiting and waiting for the big word that you were going to go in, and I think it was like around 10 o'clock at night.
And then I think it was funny, too, because after the surgery, I don't know exactly what time that was because I was pretty well out of it. They told you could go back to the hotel, relax. I wouldn't be probably awake and ready to go until, the afternoon the next day. As far as, coming to again and, everything, being ready for visitors. But that wasn't the point. That wasn't the case, was it?
No, it sure wasn't, because I wanted to leave your glasses, and they said, no, he's not going to need his glasses first thing in the morning. It's going to be a while before he comes out of anesthesia and all that other stuff he was on. But I did get a call first thing in the morning from BJ Odom saying, come come to the hospital. I need my glasses. And I was like, I knew it. I know you better than anyone else.
Now, what would you say was the roughest part about the beginning? Besides the worrying, obviously.
Well, this was all new territory to both of us, and having transplant and uncharted water, I guess, and we had to feel our way through it, and blind leading the blind, and we were told we had to stay in a hotel room for a month while he recovered, and he had to have like daily visits at first, so he had to be right by the hospital. So we stayed there, and once he was out of the hospital, we had to be really careful about germs and wearing masks. And the problem with the hotel room is I had no cooking facilities, so we basically had to order out every night or order out every day. We did have a little fridge and I believe a microwave, but you can only go so far doing that. Also, you have to watch what you're eating and the hygiene and the cleanliness of the hotel room and getting him out and walking around in the fresh air. So there was a couple of challenges we had to encounter, and it all worked out.
Now, what was I don't know if there even was an easy part, but what was well, obviously, let's backtrack even more, because you had to be there for a month. Thank God you had, a great employer at the time that allowed you to have that time off, so, you could care for me. So that was a plus.
Yes, it sure was. And the weird part about it is we just moved into a new home. I believe, and I could be wrong, but I think September 11 happened that year. And so we were dealing with a whole bunch of crises and dealing with a new home, I just started a new job, and there was a lot going on. And then finally we get the word from our heart doctor in Fort Myers, Florida, that it was time for him to go on the transplant list. And it was like, okay, do we need any more going on this year? So we had to decide whether we wanted to go to Miami or Tampa or Gainesville. We were given choices, and we felt that Tampa was our best option at the time. So we chose Tampa, and they set up an appointment, and we headed to Tampa, and that was in October.
And then it happened, obviously, March 9th.
March 9th.
Of 2003. I always remember that, 393. That was quite the day for sure. How did because I was in the hospital while all this was going on, and that was a worry too, because our daughter was pretty young at the time, and the son a little older. But how did you navigate around that?
Yes, our daughter was in high school, and we didn't want a lot of upheaval in her high school education, and for her to be worried about, what was going on. Is she going to have a father? Is she going to lose a father? Is her father going to make it through surgery? And she was also concerned about her studies too, so we had to balance everything out. Gentry at the time, I don't know where he was working at the time, but he did really well with coming up at first, because we all had to be there when the surgery took place, and he would come back and forth and visit us. That was also the year our grandson was born, so it's a way we remember how many years BJ's heart transplant was compared to our grandson's age. So that was quite a long time ago.
Now, I remember too also, but you are one of these people, which is, I think sometimes she overdoes it, people, but she had her little book And she wrote every little note she could possibly, even today when she goes to the doctor or I go to the doctor, she wants, all the notes and knows, the ins and outs where I'm like, I kind of go for everything. But your little book, do you remember your little book? Because you had I
had a notebook, I think.
You had everything written in that notebook.
Notes and medical things and your past history. And we kept adding to it what the do's and don'ts of transplants. And
I think the thing that I remember most, and you and I think both feel the same way, my coordinator at Tampa General, who is still my coordinator after 21 years, which is pretty amazing. She's in the same department doing the same thing. But Lisa Head, who is a nurse there and has followed me for the complete 21 years so far. But I remember that first meeting because I had a pre-transplant coordinator, that took care of everything pre. But then post-transplant, new coordinator, everything was changed. And I remember when she walked into the room, she was like Nurse Ratched. You need to take these pills. This is the order you need to take these pills. These are the times you need to take these pills. And today, I love her to death, and I think you do too. But remember that first meeting when she explained all the pills and everything that we needed to, all the protocols we needed to follow now that we were post-transplant?
yes, it was very scary. I mean, they came in with this box the size of a record album, or even bigger.
Oh, it was
huge. And then they started showing us how to sort the pills and what pills were for what. And it was like, oh my gosh, they were real serious and scary and intimidating. And we're like, okay, hopefully we don't mess up on this one.
And I have now, because I'm 21 years out, I have nighttime and daytime pills. And most people, if they are taking pills for anything major, that's what it is, daytime, nighttime pills. But this pill box, it wasn't a two-tier like night and day. It was a morning, midday, afternoon, nighttime, and each pill, some of the pills, of course, obviously went in more than one slot, but it was like a puzzle. You had to know where each one of those pills went. And like you said, it was very intimidating.
Yes, it was. And of course, then they had the blood pressure kit and thermometer. What else was in that goodie bag?
I forget, but it was a bag. And they even said you need to bring for each appointment. And as you said, we were there for a month, and I think we had to go back to the hospital every other day, and they were watching me, and they were doing biopsies to make sure that, we weren't rejecting. And, they said for every appointment, bring the whole kit and caboodle. You had this bag with this big old pill case that was humongous. And it was quite the ordeal.
Yes, it was.
Now, looking back, is there anything different you would do? Or let's say someone's listening right now and they have a loved one that is getting ready to be transplanted. Of course, we should mention before we do that, we went through this regimen again because in 2015, because of now I'm on a lighter dose, which is good, and the kidney function has been great the last few blood tests. But I had to have another transplant in 2015. You were a little bit of a pro then, but what did you think of when we went into that ordeal?
Once they started talking about kidney transplant and his kidney was failing because of the meds he was on, and he had to go through dialysis, we're like, okay, what more could go wrong? Hasn't he had enough in his life? And it's like, okay, we're going through it. We have no choice, and we can't back out. So we started all over again from scratch. And we're a little more experienced, a little more calmer, I could say, waiting for that kidney to come in.
And that was a strange thing, too, because we were actually with our daughter at Animal Kingdom. And again, that call, came 10:30, 11 o'clock? at night. It was pretty late. I know we were all.
It was in the middle of the night.
Yeah, because we were all pretty much in bed, if I remember right. And, I saw that, 813 was the number from Tampa General. And I go, oh, let me answer this. And they had a kidney. And then they kind of threw us for a loop because it was, what was it? It was like not tainted, but the person that we got it from, had a history of some drug use and some, so it was, I guess, I forget what the word they used, but it was like, this may not be a great kidney because of all this, but it's the match wise, it's perfect. You can either take it or you can either accept it, and we'll give you a few hours to think about it. And what was going through your mind at that time?
We're like, okay, do we pack up and leave the hotel? Do we have time? What's the criteria here? And my daughter was with us, and it was like, okay, what next? Do we escape in the middle of the night and go running to Tampa? And they told us, take our time. It's going to be a while. The organ was coming from, where was it coming from? Colorado?
It was somewhere,
Phoenix?
somewhere like, Phoenix, the Arizona area.
So, they had time to retrieve it and get it ready to come over to Tampa. So they said we had plenty of time.
And they gave us a few hours to decide.
Yeah.
And finally, in the middle of the night, I said, I don't know when I'm going to get this chance again. And dialysis is just no fun at all. It pretty much, consumes your life because you're at the facility I was at least, 3 days a week for like about 4 or 5 hours for them to get done with the dialysis. So I think I was at the point where I said, let's just do it. And we took it, and thank God, it's been working great since, 2015. And hopefully it'll continue for a long time. But they also say a cadaver kidney, which is from a deceased donor, usually won't last as long as a kidney from a living donor. And, they say it lasts anywhere from, 8 to 10 years max. And I'm already at 6 now. So hopefully, but I have heard of people with cadaver kidneys, living for, a much longer time. So, but what I was going to get at, if you were talking to a caregiver of someone who is just beginning the journey, what's the number one thing you would tell them?
Well, to backtrack a little bit, when we were going through the testing in October for the heart, they go through rigorous tests, psychological, everything, and they prepare you. They say the pros and cons. Usually in a transplant, you're trading one problem for another, but when you're that sick and you need a transplant, you don't mind trading problems. If you're going to be alive and you're going to live a normal, healthy life, it's always okay. It is okay to deal with it. And they do tell you, like with the kidney, that there might be some issues with the kidney. They go through a lot of testing before they even give it to you, but there's always that chance, if that person was just using or drinking or something, they might not have picked it up already. So it's a time limit there. So you had to make up your mind. They gave us time to make up our mind. And of course we didn't hesitate because the heart was so successful, and we knew it could be our last chance, and we had to go for it. And that's basically what you're doing. You go for it and you gamble, but the gambling is worth it in the end because you've extended someone's life, and they can continue to live and be happy and take care of their family, and we can take care of them.
Maybe this is the time I should ask this question because, we're doing the podcast. Because I've never really asked you this before, but I know they interviewed me because they want to make sure, I have, like you said, no mental problems. But also, they interviewed you too, though, because they wanted to make sure, you were stable to take care of me. They wanted to make sure you were on board. They wanted to make sure, they asked questions about me. I've never asked you this, but I'm going to put you on the spot during this podcast, if you can remember, because it was 21 years ago. But when you were in that room with the psychologist or psychiatrist, whatever the heck it was, and they were interviewing you, what were some of the questions they asked?
I wish I would remember some of the questions, but of course they can see as a group how we interacted, how we did between each other, and in the preliminary stage. I don't remember any of the questions, and I know we had some issues in our relationship that might have said, no, I'm never going to do this. But you know what? It's a life, and I'm happy to gone on the journey, and I do it again and again and again. And I also tell people to do it. I think women have more of a caretaker mentality because they're the woman, they're the mother, they're the wife. So they end up falling into this role a little bit easier to caretaking and pampering or whatever, stepping up to the plate. So, and it was in my nature to, caretake someone and put them above all else. But you also, as a caretaker, have to remember your health is important, and you have to take care of yourself as well as the person you're taking care of. I don't know if he's going to want to do this, but a couple years back, I had breast cancer and a double mastectomy, and we reversed the roles, and he was my caretaker. And he did an excellent job.
Yeah, but I also, I've been, sick, most of my life. And it's not fun being on the other side of the bed. And I was even telling the doctors, something's wrong here. I am sitting on the wrong side of the bed. And for me, as a transplant patient, and as someone who has had a caregiver now for over 21 years because of my medical problems, well, even before
Probably
that.
long there.
Yeah, before that. But I mean, I don't know. As far as I'm concerned, the other side, which is being the caretaker, is a million times more stressful and everything else as the patient. And now that you've been on both sides also, would you agree or disagree?
I agree.
So you have been on the wrong side of the stick most of the time.
No, I felt like, oh, yeah, I'm getting back. Payback is hell, huh? No, serious side, when you're bathing them and taking care of their wounds and their bandages, and then they have to take care of your wounds and bandages, and it's a good thing that you can help each other.
Yeah, but it's not fun for the other person.
I guess. You were bathing me and taking care of my little squishies.
But I tell you this, but see, here's what was odd for me too, because when I was, when I was getting my transplant, when we go back to the beginning of this interview, when I got the call, I was excited, I was happy. I knew things were going to get fixed.
You were also in the hospital, so you didn't have much stress, or you were there. You said, okay, come get me.
Yeah, so that's why I think it was so much easier for me. But I know, you had a lot of stressful moments with your breast cancer because you were kind of you knew the environment, but you were in an environment you weren't used to, I guess, where I was in an environment that I was used to because I was a child when I started having heart problems.
Yeah.
So it really, kind of reversed our roles, which was probably in hindsight, maybe a good thing.
Yes, and to know that you had heart issues even when you were a babe and all the way up, and they never thought you'd live past your teen years, and then you moved to Florida and found me, and that didn't seem to bother me that you had a bad heart. It was just love and just move forward, never thinking that we'd go through all the heart issues. And I'll tell you right now, his bypass surgery he had a couple years before the heart transplant almost was worse and had more equipment in that room, and medicine and stuff than the heart transplant. So if you're scared about the heart transplant, it's almost a breeze. I want to say we had it pretty good compared to the bypass surgery. And
oh yeah, the bypass on me. They even told me they lost me on the table, which my mother died on the table. Well, I guess she was off the table, and then we were gone, and then they called us because she went into they lost the heart rate. I mean, lost the heartbeat, and had to
couldn't bring her back.
Yeah, couldn't bring her back. But yeah, when that was so funny too, because I don't know if they told you that, but I remember they told me that one of my appointments afterwards. Did you ever see a light or anything? Because we lost you and we had to bring you back. I wasn't even aware of that until they told me. And I go, you could have kept that to yourself. I really didn't need to know that.
Because now he was looking for the light for the longest time. But yeah, that was the scary part. And the transplant was a lot easier to handle.
Well, I think too, because when you get a transplant, whether it be a kidney that's failing or any organ that's failing, you're having a problem with different things in your life where, I'd had a bad heart all my life, but once I got that heart, I felt like a brand new person. And so I was like, of course, you're on prednisone too, which makes you feel like Superman. But, I felt like I could, conquer the world the day after my heart transplant. So that was a, really good thing for me. So as we get ready to wrap this up, in closing, what would your final thoughts be to, like I said, a patient or a caregiver in the making, because they're just now maybe getting listed, or so what would you tell them?
Transplant is not as scary as it sounds. It's well worth the wait. Keep fighting, keep going. And to this day, we will talk to people saying, oh, BJ's had a heart transplant and a kidney transplant, and everybody says, wow, you look really great. And it's like, I think people have this vision of having a transplant. You're like still all messed up, or, you should look weak, but it's not true. It gives you your second chance. It gives you life, and gives you a way to enjoy the rest of your life with your family and live.
Thank you so much to my wife, Susan, for sharing our amazing story, as she, my caregiver, has gotten me through so much. Hope you'll join us again next week for another touching episode of Gift of Life, the Organ Transplant Podcast. If you have a transplant story you would like to share, just reach out to us. Email us at giftoflifepodcast@gmail.com. And connect with us on Facebook at Gift of Life, the Organ Transplant Podcast. Until next time, I'm BJ Odom. Thank you so much for being a part of our journey, reminding us all to appreciate each day and cherish the extraordinary gift of life.